The gray-haired man was cooking dinner. Today his granddaughter Angela returned to him from the city. She had not yet told him what had happened there, but the man felt that she was back for good. A year ago she had left her home village. Angela met a handsome man from the city when he came to their region to fish with friends. Frank made her head spin, and she went to city with him. They started to live together, but the guy's mother was extremely unhappy with their union and with the fact that her son had brought a country girl to the city. After a while, Frank also began to think that he was too hasty with the relationship. For Angela it was her first love and she didn't immediately realize that Frank was just a mama's boy who couldn't make independent decisions and wasn't capable of serious action at all. And then she got pregnant and told her boyfriend everything. He only offered her money for an abortion. This was not what the proud country girl had dreamed of. She only now realized that the man she confided in did not love her at all. The girl packed her things and went home. At home, burning with shame and guilt, she told her grandfather what had happened to her. Her grandfather supported her granddaughter and assured her that the child was a great blessing and a gift from God. With tears in her eyes, Angela hugged her grandfather. Now she has completely calmed down and began to prepare for the baby's birth. Charles was born a strong and healthy baby. Happy Angela was overjoyed with her boy, but her grandfather made her sadder and sadder. The old man had severe foot pain and was no longer able to go out for his scheduled rounds. All his life he had worked as a forester in the forest, and now he was very worried that there was no one to hand over the post. No one wanted to go to this God-forsaken place. Life away from civilization was not easy and was not suitable for everyone. One evening the old man heard the sound of gunfire nearby and froze in indignation. He cursed and got up to go into the woods. But he had barely taken a few steps when he groaned in pain. Angela barely had time to catch him up. Feeling powerless and annoyed, the old man cried. All his life he had guarded the forest and animals against extermination by poachers, and now there was nobody to protect the defenseless animals. Angela calmed her grandfather down as best she could, and in the morning she left her son with the old man and went to the forestry. She was gone for a long time, but she came back happy and with a smile. Angela told him that they had a new forester and that she was the one. The old man frowned and began to say that this was not a woman's job and a very difficult one at that. But the woman answered that she knew everything, thanks to her grandfather, with whom she often went on her rounds as a child. Everyone in the department knew her too, so they were happy to take her on and would soon send her for training. Since then, the man stayed with Charles, while Angela took the faithful dog and went on her rounds. The young woman liked this life. She loved the forest and pitied the animals. One early morning Angela came out into the clearing and saw several men kicking with their boots a gray squealing lump. She recognized Gregory, the most brazen poacher in their district. Angela boldly stepped toward him and asked without fear who allowed him to shoot wolves. The man answered grudgingly that they had chewed up the herd and the farmers were suffering. The woman raised her voice and explained that shooting is forbidden now as wolves are nursing their young. Gregory got furious and said that it is not a woman's business to walk in woods and made a threatening step to her. The woman raised her weapon and Gregory cursed and retreated. As a farewell he threatened that they will meet again and disappeared into the forest with the other men. Angela examined the wolf cub, and making sure that it was almost unharmed, took care of its dead mother by burying her in the ground. She took the wolf cub home. Otherwise it would not have survived alone. Charles named the wolf cub Gray, and promised to take care of it, so they were raised together. The old man taught his great-grandson how to take care of animals. Time passed. One day Angela went out into the forest and heard a noise in the distance. Now she was often accompanied by a wolf. It had grown noticeably and was the size of a large dog. When they came out into the clearing Angela turned pale with indignation. Gregory and his company were standing over the dead moose and posing for the camera. The woman was furious, but Gregory jumped up to her first, grabbed her by the neck, and swung around to hit her. But then, like gray lightning, a wolf jumped out of the bushes at him, tipped him on his back, and closed its jaws on his throat. Gregory wheezed and asked to remove the wolf, promising to pay a fine. Angela only smiled and called Andrew, the district police officer, over the radio. She waited until he arrived, and then handed him the poachers. Andrew filled out the paperwork on the poachers, put everyone in the car and sent them to the police station. As soon as the car drove away, Andrew came up to Angela and suddenly embraced her. And then he kissed her and asked her when she would agree to marry him. Angela laughed happily. Andrew had already proposed to her several times, but the woman was afraid to make the mistake of her youth. She always refused. But it was now that she finally realized that Andrew was serious and had no intention of rejecting her. She looked into his eyes and said yes. A few days later the wolf found a couple as well. They were returning home from their rounds, and suddenly the wolf stopped, looked at Angela with a long look, and turned away. The woman saw the silhouette of a beautiful she-wolf in the bushes nearby. Angela smiled understandingly, patted Gray on the head and let him go. Several years had passed. Angela had long been married to Andrew. At last she knew what true marital happiness was. One winter, Charles ran home from school, quickly changed his clothes, and then asked his mother if he could go to the forest. The boy thought he saw his wolf there. Angela did not let her son go, as it was not safe in the woods. The boy promised to be near, but as soon as his mother turned away, he put some pieces of meat and bread for the wolf in his pocket and ran towards the forest. Toward evening Angela realized that she had not heard the boy for a long time. She rushed outside, and was horrified to see that the child's footprints led to the woods. Angela got dressed and rushed after him. Soon the whole village went in search of the boy. In the meantime, clouds covered the sky and a snowstorm was about to begin. Suddenly, everyone who was with Angela froze in shock. A bear's roar was heard very close by. Angela went pale. It was very dangerous to meet an awakened in-winter bear. Immediately, as if hearing that her mother was near, Charles cried out. People rushed to help the child, and when they ran out into the clearing saw a terrible fight between a bear and a wolf, and a crying boy in front of them. Angela rushed to her son, grabbed him, and pulled him aside. And one of the hunters took aim and shot the furious bear. Angela rushed to the wolf and knelt in front of him. The wolf looked at her and whimpered pitifully. He searched for the boy with his eyes, then turned his head toward the bushes and fell silent. The woman followed his gaze and saw that there was a she-wolf standing there, with several wolf cubs beside her. Charles was crying, cursing himself for not obeying his mother. One of the men muttered that the poachers were to blame. They had raised the bear from the den, and so he became furious. Angela held her son close to her and quietly cried over the body of the faithful wolf, who even after he left them forever, had not forgotten the good things done to him. The Savior was buried in the same clearing, and for several days people heard the long lingering howl of the wolf and the thin voices of orphaned wolves without a father.